The sky turned dark, not because of night, but because of the storm. Huge clouds, red and thick like blood-soaked sand, rolled across the land. Loud winds howled, lifting dust and broken metal into the air. The ground shook with each gust. It was not a normal storm. It was a deadly one, the kind that had wiped out cities before. And now, it was coming again. Kalari ran. Her boots sank into soft ash and cracked earth as she moved fast, holding a small breathing mask over her nose. Her other hand clutched a satchel that held the last of her supplies: water, one power cell, and an old family crest. Her skin was pale violet, her eyes large and glowing slightly in the dark. She was Scifi, one of the last few of her kind in this region. She didn't know where the others had gone. She didn't even know if they were alive. Behind her, the storm chased with fury. Buildings that once stood tall now bent and broke like paper. The wind tore through them without mercy. Lightning danced across the red clouds, striking the ground and setting small fires that died quickly under the weight of dust. Kalari didn't look back. She couldn't. If she did, she might stop. She didn't want to stop. Her oxygen meter blinked yellow on her wrist. She had less than 3 hours left. Her communicator was broken. Her legs ached, but she kept going. She had heard a rumor, just a whisper really, about a possible safe zone out in the wasteland. Something old, something human. Most Scifi didn't believe humans could survive the planet after what happened. The great energy blast from the Scifi power core years ago had changed the atmosphere. It ruined the balance. Both Scifi and humans had suffered. Many believed all humans were gone. But Kalari wasn't sure. She had found marks in the sand, strange signs. Metal pieces shaped by human hands. Maybe someone still lived out there. Maybe. She climbed a small ridge, breathing hard, her chest tight. When she reached the top, she gasped. In the distance, half buried under dust and rock, was a strange shape. It didn't look like a Scifi building. It was rougher, more square. Metal beams stuck out like broken bones. A rusted antenna leaned to the side. It was old, damaged, but it was sheltered. Kalari moved toward it, stumbling over rocks and sharp glass. Her foot twisted once, and she fell hard. Landing on her side, pain shot through her leg. She hissed quietly, then pushed herself up. No time to rest. The wind behind her was stronger now. The storm was getting close. As she reached the broken doorway, she placed her hand on the edge. It was human metal, cold, but still strong. She pushed the door slightly. It creaked but opened just enough. Inside, it was dark. She stepped in. Her eyes adjusted slowly. The room was small, filled with scrap and boxes. A broken chair sat near the wall. Wires hung from the ceiling. Some lights blinked dimly. Kalari sighed with relief. This place had power. Not much, but enough to keep systems alive. Then she heard it. A sound. Small, soft but real. Footsteps. Her body froze. She turned quickly, raising her arm where a weak energy blade used to be. It didn't work anymore. But it was habit. Someone moved from the far corner of the room. Not fast, just careful. Then she saw him. A human. He stood tall, but thin, skin tanned by sun and dirt. His clothes were worn and patched many times. One hand held an old human rifle, pointed straight at her. His eyes were sharp, but tired. Neither moved. They stared at each other. Kalari didn't speak. She didn't know if he would understand her. Even if he did, what would she say? I'm not your enemy. Please don't shoot. The stories from the past filled her mind. Humans and Scifi had not been friends. The war had made sure of that. But he didn't shoot. His eyes narrowed slightly. He stepped closer, the gun still ready. Then he said something. His voice was rough, dry from the dust. She didn't understand all of it, only a few words from her old training. Who are you? Kalari slowly lowered her arm and pointed. To herself, Kalari, she said softly. The human looked at her for a long time, then slowly lowered the gun. He nodded once, then turned around and walked to a small table. He poured something from a dirty bottle into a metal cup and held it out toward her. She stepped forward carefully, took the cup, and drank. It was water warm and dusty, but real water. The human said, Eli. She repeated it, Eli. They stood in silence again. Outside, the storm hit. The shelter wall shook slightly, but they held strong. Wind roared, and dust slammed against the metal, but inside, it was calm. Ari looked at the man. He was alive, a human, still surviving after all this time. Eli looked at her too. A Zolari girl, alive and standing in front of him. Both thought they were the last. Both thought the other side was gone. Now they stood face to face in a world that had forgotten them, and for the first time in many years, both wondered maybe they weren't alone anymore. The storm outside roared louder, like a wild beast scratching at the metal walls. Dust slammed against the shelter in angry waves, but nothing broke through. Kailari sat near the corner, wrapping her arms around her knees. The cup of water from Eli was still in her hand, now half empty. She had not tasted real water in days. It felt strange, like something from another world. Eli worked silently across the room. He was fixing a small heater, his hands moving slowly but with purpose. The shelter was cold. The air smelled like old wires and metal, but it was safe. Safer than anything outside. Kailari watched him closely. This human was different than what she had been told. The stories said humans were aggressive, wild, unable to survive without destroying something. But Eli looked calm, focused, tired. Yes, but not angry. Not dangerous. He glanced at her. You speak more. She shook her head slowly. Only a few words. Eli nodded. Same here. Not much, Zolari. Learned little. Long time ago. He sat down across from her. He had a map, drawn by hand, covered in dust. He pointed at a spot near the center. We are here. Storm will pass into days. She leaned forward, squinting. The writing was human, rough and faded. She understood. Some of the symbols. She pointed at the edge of the map. Zolari Station, here. Eli raised his eyebrows. Still there? Kailari frowned. Don't know. Left many days ago. All gone. Only me. They both sat in silence again. The wind screamed outside. Kailari's wrist device blinked. Oxygen level low. She touched the mask on her face. The air in the shelter was thin, but still better than outside. She needed to make it last. Eli noticed her device. He stood up and walked to a shelf. After a few moments of digging, he came back with a small tank. Not full, but better than nothing. She took it slowly. Thank you, she said softly. No problem, Eli replied. They stayed like that for a while, sitting across from each other, to survivors from different worlds. Kailari looked around the shelter. It was made from scrap old ship parts, broken machines, and hand-welded walls. It was clear he had built it himself. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. You alone? She asked. Eli nodded. Since the war. Stayed. Had to. Others left. Didn't make it. She lowered her eyes. Same. Eli stood up and walked to a locked metal door. You should rest. Storm not over yet. Dangerous to go out. Kailari didn't argue. Her legs were still sore. Her eyes heavy. She found a corner with a soft old blanket and curled up, her back against the wall. Eyes still watching the human. She didn't trust him fully. Not yet, but for the first time in a long while. She didn't feel afraid. Hours passed. When Kailari woke, the lights in the shelter were dim. Eli was sitting near a small fire made from broken circuits. He was cooking something in a pot. The smell made her stomach growl. You eat? He asked. She nodded. He handed her a small metal bowl. Inside was thick soup, made from roots and dry meat. She didn't ask what kind of meat it was. She just ate, slowly, carefully. It tasted plain but warm. How long here? She asked between bites. 5 years, he said. Maybe 6. Hard to count. Kailari looked surprised. Alone. Yes. Build shelter. Used old tech. Scavenged what I could. Why stay? He shrugged. I was a scout, sent before the final battle. When it all went wrong, I hid. Waited. But help never came. She looked down at her bowl. My people said humans destroyed balance. Poisoned air. Eli sighed. Maybe true. But both sides made mistakes. Kaylari nodded. I believe that now. They sat quietly, not like strangers anymore, but like people who understood pain. Your name? Eli asked again. Kaylari. Pretty name. She smiled slightly. Thank you. Later, Kaylari stood at the edge of the shelter, looking through a small screen. Outside, the storm still raged, but she could see clearer patches in the distance. Maybe the worst had passed. Eli walked up beside her. You leave when it's over. I must try. Need to find others. Maybe help them. He nodded. I understand. She turned to him. You come. He looked surprised. You want me too. You help me. I help you. Eli looked away for a moment, then back at her. Okay? They made a plan. When the storm ended, they would head east toward the Zoleri station, if it still stood. Maybe there were survivors. Maybe they could rebuild. Not as enemies, but as allies. Before sleeping again, Kaylari walked to the workbench. There was a broken communication device. She picked it up, studied it, and began to fix small wires. Eli watched her quietly, then handed her a tool. Together, they worked side by side. The storm had passed, leaving behind a sky that was pale and dusty. The red clouds were gone, replaced by soft sunlight that barely warmed the cold earth outside the shelter. The wasteland stretched far and wide, empty, silent, and full of dangers. Kaylari stepped outside first. Her boots crunched on broken glass and dry rocks. She looked around carefully. The wind was calm now, but it could change quickly. The ruined buildings were far behind them, swallowed by dust and time. Eli came out after her. He carried a worn backpack with supplies, a rifle slung over his shoulder. His eyes scanned the horizon, always alert. They had survived the storm. But the world was not safe yet. We move east, Eli said quietly. To station. Maybe others there. Kaylari nodded. She felt a mix of hope and fear. Hope that she might find her people. Fear of what the journey might bring. They walked slowly, careful not to waste energy. The sun was harsh, and water was still scarce. Eli showed Kaylari how to find small patches of shade beneath broken walls and how to use the sun to guide their path. Desert tricks, Eli said with a tired smile. Learn fast, Kaylari smiled back. Teach me. Days passed as they moved through the wasteland. They shared stories in broken words and gestures. Eli talked about his past as a scout, sent to observe enemy movements before the war exploded. Kaylari spoke about her family, her home city, and the day the storm came. They found old ruins, buildings cracked and half buried in sand. Strange machines that no longer worked. Sometimes they found food supplies hidden away, enough to last a little longer. One evening, as they rested near a dry riverbed, Kaylari heard a strange sound, soft and slow, like a distant footstep on dry ground. She froze, staring into the darkness. Eli noticed her sudden stop. What? Something, not wind. They both stood, weapons ready. The wasteland was quiet again, but now they knew it was not empty. From the shadows, a large figure emerged. It was not human, not Zoleri. Something else. Its skin was rough and covered with patches of metal. Its eyes glowed faintly red. It moved with a slow, heavy step. Eli raised his rifle, aiming carefully. Kaylari held her breath. The creature did not attack at once. It watched them, tilting its head like a curious animal. Then it turned and disappeared back into the darkness. What was that? Kaylari whispered. Not sure, but dangerous. Eli tightened his grip on the rifle. We need to keep moving, but careful. That night, neither of them slept well. The wasteland held more secrets than either had expected. The next day, they found a small building with a communication tower nearby. It was broken and half collapsed, but the equipment inside looked repairable. Kaylari's single quotes eyes brightened. Maybe signal. Eli nodded. Help could come. They worked together, cleaning dust from panels, reconnecting wires, and trying to power the old machines. Kaylari's knowledge of Zoleri tech and Ellie's human experience made them a good team. After hours of work, the tower hummed softly. A weak signal was sent into space. Kale already smiled for the first time in days. Someone will hear. Eli grinned, finally, but as they prepared to leave, strange sounds returned. Low growls and metal scraping from the shadows. The creature was back. It attacked without warning, fast and strong. Eli fired his rifle, but the creature dodged easily. Kalari grabbed a broken pipe and swung it with all her strength. The fight was fierce. The creature's metal skin was tough, but it could be hurt. Finally, they forced it to retreat, disappearing into the wasteland. Eli breathed hard. This world not safe. Kalari nodded. We must warn others. They packed their things quickly and moved away from the tower. The wasteland was no longer just a place to survive, it was a battlefield. As they traveled, Kalari and Eli grew closer. Their small moments of laughter and shared meals gave them strength. They were two survivors from different worlds, fighting not just the storm, but the dangers left behind. Why help me? Kalari asked one evening as they sat by a small fire. Eli looked at her. Because you are not just alien. You are person. Like me. Kalari smiled softly. You are not just human. You are friend. They both knew their journey was far from over. The wasteland held many threats, but together they had a chance ahead. The outline of the Zolari station appeared, a cluster of domes and towers. Cracked but still standing, Kalari's heart beat fast. Home? Eli nodded. Maybe, or last place. They moved closer, ready for whatever awaited. The wasteland was harsh, the storm was deadly, and the creatures were hunting. But Kalari and Eli were alive, and together they would face whatever came next. Kalari and Eli stood at the edge of the Zolari station. The buildings were cracked, and many domes were broken. Metal skeletons of towers leaned dangerously. Dust settled in the air like a thin fog. The place looked quiet, but both knew silence could hide danger. Kalari stepped forward cautiously. This place was once my home. Eli scanned the area, holding his rifle ready. We must be careful. They entered through a half-open door. Inside was dark but stable. The air was cooler here, free from the harsh desert winds. Old machines and control panels were everywhere, covered in dust and broken glass. Kalari walked slowly, touching walls and broken screens. Memories flashed in her mind days before the storm. Before the great disaster, she remembered families, laughter, and hope. Now only silence. Eli helped clear rubble from a stairway. Maybe survivors, he asked. Kalari shook her head. None here, maybe. They moved deeper into the station. Near the central hub, they found a large room with a communication console. Kalari's eyes lit up. The console still showed faint power. We can try to send a message, she said. Eli nodded, setting up his equipment. Together, they worked to repair the system. Wires connected, screens flickered, and then a weak signal pulsed through the room. Kalari smiled. Someone will hear this. Eli looked hopeful. Help is coming. Suddenly, alarms began to beep faintly. A soft voice, in Zolari language, repeated a warning. Kalari's heart raced. Storm, danger, leave now, the message said. Eli frowned. Storm. But it passed. Kalari shook her head. This is old message from before. Then they heard a noise, a deep rumble from below. The ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A hidden door slid open, revealing a dark passage. Eli raised his rifle. We check. Kalari nodded, following him into the darkness. The passage was narrow and cold. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. The air smelled of metal and oil. They walked carefully, lights from their helmets cutting through the dark. At the end of the passage, they found a large room. Inside, a glowing device hummed. It was a beacon and old warning system, still active. Kalari reached out, touching the device. Data streams appeared in her mind, images of the storm, the disaster, and a secret experiment gone wrong. This caused the storm, she whispered. Eli studied the controls. And as someone kept it running? Kalari nodded. To warn others, or to hide something? Then a sound echoed from above, a low growl, mechanical and alive. We are not alone. Eli said, eyes sharp. They moved back to the station's surface quickly. Outside, the sun was setting, casting long shadows. Then they saw it, a massive machine, part animal, part metal, moved slowly through the ruins. Its red eyes scanned the area. It was the creature they had seen before the storm beast. Eli aimed his rifle, but Kalari stopped him. Wait, she stepped forward, raising her hands. It hunts, but listens. The beast paused, tilting its head. Kalari reached into her pack, pulling out a small device from the station. It emitted a soft signal. The beast growled, then stopped. It looked at Kalari as if understanding. Eli watched in surprise. How? Kalari explained, this beast was built by rogue forces. It protects the secrets of the storm. Eli frowned. Then it is both guard and threat. They knew they had to be careful. The station held answers, but also dangers. Kalari looked at Eli. We must send message. Warn others, but also prepare. Eli nodded. We fight, but not alone. That night, they set up camp near the station. The beacon sent messages into space, calling for help. Kalari and Eli kept watch, knowing the storm beast could return. But they were not afraid. Together, they faced the wasteland's secrets, and hope was alive again. The night was dark and still, but Kalari could feel a tension in the air. She sat beside Eli near their small campfire, watching the stars through the cracked dome of the station. The beacon was sending signals continuously now, its soft hum, a reminder that help might come soon. But the dangers were closer than ever. Eli was cleaning his rifle carefully. His hands moved with steady precision, but his eyes kept darting toward the shadows beyond the firelight. They will come, Kalari said quietly. The others, to help. Eli nodded. But we have a threat here first. Kalari glanced toward the darkness. The storm beast had returned. It was a machine, built for hunting and guarding secrets. Its glowing red eyes had watched them from the ruins. We can't let it stop us, she said. We must fight if we need to. Eli sighed. I'm not sure we can fight alone. Kalari looked at him. We don't have to. We have each other. The bond between them had grown strong. Two survivors, once strangers from different worlds, now partners facing the wasteland together. The next morning, they explored deeper into the station. They found rooms filled with old data cores and broken machines. Kalari carefully examined each one, trying to understand what had happened before the storm. Eli found a hidden storage room with weapons and armor. Some looked ancient, but still functional. He handed a small pistol to Kalari for protection. He said, better than a pipe. She smiled faintly and took it. As they moved through the corridors, they discovered a sealed vault. The door was heavy and covered in strange symbols. Kalari worked on unlocking it, using her knowledge of Zolari technology and the tools Eli had brought. After tense moments, the door slowly opened with a grinding sound. Inside, they found what looked like a control room. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing maps and star charts. In the center was a large data console with logs of experiments and warnings. Kalari's eyes widened as she read the information. The storm was not natural. It was caused by a secret project to control the planet's energy core. The project went wrong, creating a disaster that destroyed much of the station and the surrounding area. They lied, Kalari whispered. They knew the danger, but hid it. Eli looked at the screens. And the beast? A guardian, Kalari said, programmed to protect the secrets. They realized the machine was built to stop anyone from learning the truth. It hunted survivors to keep the project hidden. Eli clenched his fists. We have to stop it. Kalari nodded. But how? They spent the next hours planning. Eli studied the weapons and armor. Kalari worked on hacking the station's systems to find a way to disable the beast. There, Kalari said suddenly, the beast has a control signal. If we jam it, it will stop. Eli smiled. We have a chance. They prepared a device to send a jamming signal. It was risky. The beast was strong and fast. But they had no choice. As night fell again, they set the trap near the station's entrance. Kalari hid behind a broken wall, holding the jammer. Eli took cover with his rifle. Watching the shadows, the storm beast appeared, moving silently. It spotted them and charged. Eli fired his rifle, aiming for weak points in the metal skin. Kailari activated the jammer. The beast slowed, confused by the signal. Its movements became jerky. Its eyes flickered. Eli fired again, hitting the machines. Joints. Finally, the beast stopped moving. It fell to the ground, silent. Kailari and Eli breathed heavily. They had won. We did it, Eli said. For now, Kailari replied. But more dangers may come. The next day, the rescue ships arrived. Humans and Zoleri, working together, landed near the station. Kailari and Eli greeted them. Their signal had worked. The survivors were saved. The secrets of the storm would be exposed, and the long road to rebuilding would begin. Kailari looked at Eli and smiled. We survived, Eli nodded. Together, as the ships lifted off, the wasteland seemed less empty, less silent. Hope was alive again. The sky was clear now. The red storms were gone. The wasteland lay quiet under soft sunlight. The rescue ships had arrived, their engines humming softly as they landed near the Zoleri station. Humans and Zoleri moved together, bringing supplies, machines, and Hope. Kailari stood near the landing pad, watching the new arrivals. Her heart felt heavy with relief and joy. She had thought she was alone. She had thought the world was lost. But now, it was beginning again. Eli stood beside her, his eyes bright. The long days and nights in the wasteland had changed him. He was no longer just a lone survivor. He was a leader, a friend, a partner. A tall Zoleri commander approached them. Her silver hair shone in the sunlight. She smiled warmly at Kailari. We received your signal, she said. You saved many lives by staying alive and sending the call. Kailari nodded. We found the truth. The storm was not natural. It was caused by a secret. Eli added, and the machine the Guardian was hunting to keep it hidden. We stopped it. The commander's eyes grew serious. This changes much. The galaxy must know. Kailari felt a strong wind on her face. It was clean air, not the choking dust she had breathed for so long. She closed her eyes, letting it fill her lungs. What now? Eli asked. We rebuild, the commander said. But not alone. Humans and Zoleri will work together. Kailari smiled. She looked at Eli. We survived the storm. Now, we survive the future. In the days that followed, Kailari and Eli helped coordinate rescue efforts. Teams repaired the station, cleared debris, and searched for other survivors. Kailari's single quotes knowledge of the land and the station was invaluable. Ellie's experience and courage inspired the newcomers. Slowly, the wasteland began to change. Green patches returned, and water flowed in small streams. Hope grew like new plants after the rain. One evening, as the sun set behind distant hills, Kailari and Eli stood on a small hill overlooking the station. Do you remember when we first met? Kailari asked softly. Eli laughed. You were scared, and I was suspicious. Now, she smiled. Now, we are family, maybe more. Kailari blushed lightly, but did not deny it. The galaxy may be big, Eli said, but sometimes the smallest places hold the greatest stories. Kailari nodded, and sometimes the most unlikely people become heroes. A message came from the Galactic Council. The truth about the storm and the secret project was shared. Leaders promised justice and aid for the damaged worlds, humans. And Zoleri joined forces to create new technologies that would heal the planet. Peace talks began, guided by stories of survival and trust. Kailari and Eli became symbols of hope, proof that enemies could become friends, and that together they could overcome the darkest storms. One morning, as Kailari walked through the growing gardens near the station, Eli joined her. Ready to explore? He asked. Always, she replied. They looked toward the horizon, where new worlds waited to be discovered and old wounds slowly healed. Kailari felt the weight of the past lift. She was no longer a lone survivor running from a deadly storm. She was part of something greater, a future built with courage, friendship, and trust. Eli took her hand. We faced it together. She squeezed his hand, always, as the sun rose higher, casting golden light over the healing wasteland. Kailari and Eli walked forward to survivors, to friends, one future. The storm was gone. But their story was just beginning.